Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast. Our guest today is Adam Pauli. Adam is the owner of Symmetry Trailers. Now, Symmetry Trailers builds quality custom overland trailers, expedition trailers, backcountry utility trailers, and rooftop tents. Symmetry Trailers began as a hobby, and as I understand, it was born out of Adam's summers off as a welding teacher and just working on his own personal projects. And I want to let Adam share the rest of the story, but I was incredibly fascinated with Adam and his work and these Symmetry Trailers. As many of you know, I moved from Chicago, which is right in the middle of downtown, out to Las Vegas, and I love exploring the mountains. And I started to research, how could I get out and spend 1 to 2 days away from Las Vegas and enjoy myself in the mountains? And I'm a big time stargazer. I'm into astrophotography. And how could I do that as efficiently and as safely as possible? And this is how I came across Adam, and he was gracious enough to agree to join us here on the Success Insight podcast. So again, without further ado, I introduce you to Adam Pauli. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it.
So Adam, I have to share, coming out here, I was all about research. My Honda Accord barely made it out here. You know, I was 20 some years old. I knew I needed a car. I know I wanted to get away. And just researching cars, researching photography, astrophotography, and rooftop tents, car camping, trailers. And then I came across your trailers, and there was just really something unique about them because, one, they were really cool looking. And I got to thinking, we're in the midst of this global pandemic 2020, and I would think a lot of people have got this, spark, like, if we're going to get out, we want to get out and do some, be out in the country, open space, great place for the family. And I would have to think Symmetry Trailers is in the right place at the right time, especially last year and continuing on into 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. We just started. I think I told you earlier, I quit my job back in June as a teacher. I'd been doing the trailers for a couple of years before that. Yeah, we kind of took a leap of faith there to step off and see if it was going to fly. And so far, so good. We've done really well, and I appreciate the customers we've had so far. It's been an adventure, but it's been fun.
Fantastic. I would love if you could share, Adam, just a little bit more background, even before your work as doing the trailers, because there's some graphics or tooling on the trailers that are very significant. So maybe if you could share a little bit more about your background, how you got into the welding, the CAD design, and fabrication, because you don't just suddenly wake up and say, okay, I'm going to go build trailers for a living. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your background.
Okay. I guess it kind of starts right after I got out of high school. Even before that, my dad was a diesel mechanic, and I grew up working in his shop. We built a lot of bumpers for Jeeps and things like that. He was a big Jeep guy, and I became involved in the Jeeps quite a bit. My very first vehicles were Jeeps. And then after I finished up with high school, I went into the military as a mechanic and kind of got my mechanical background there. Went to college, and I wanted to be a tech ed teacher. And in Wyoming, that at least gives you the opportunity to be able to teach a lot of different areas. You can teach woods, you can teach welding, you can teach automotive, you can teach drafting. And so with that degree, you get to touch on each of those areas throughout and get a little bit of just a taste of an experience in each one to see what you'd like to be involved in. And so I finished up my degree, worked a couple odd jobs in between, and then got a teaching job. I was a welding teacher for 7 years. Throughout those years, I had the opportunity to be able to create a class in my 8th grade classes. We had electives, and we had a little bit of freedom to be able to create new and different classes. And so we created a class that was based somewhat on Shark Tank. We taught the kids entrepreneurship. We taught them the benefits of starting your own business and creating your own product and the steps to be able to create that. And I guess I kind of drank some of my own Kool-Aid there to to start into like, hey, maybe I need to start my own business. And we were going to a lot of entrepreneur type conferences. We went to one in Vegas actually, called Thrive out there. And it was at Thrive that I went. We were in, I think, the Hard Rock. And I went to go to the conference that morning. I stopped in for breakfast. And sure enough, there was a four-wheeler magazine there next to the counter. And four-wheeler has always been one of my favorite. And on the cover was this Overland trailer. And so I was like, boy, that's cool. I want to check them out. So I grabbed a copy of it, paid for it. And throughout the conference, when I got a chance, I was looking through these. And a lot of these trailers, base price, you were talking 15, 20, 30 grand to start off with. And I'm thinking with my CAD design background and welding background, I was like, man, I could build one of those for a lot cheaper than that. And so got home, I had some money saved up, and I'd been thinking about a business idea. And so I took that money and put it in my first trailer, put it up on for sale, and it sold within like 6 weeks. Took that money, rolled it in my very first Symmetry trailer. It sold that summer, built a second one. It sold that summer. And so I quickly saw that there was an opportunity here to be able to do this at least as a hobby. As a teacher, I had my summers and my weekends, so I had some time to be able to build these. And I thought, man, this would be kind of fun to just do it on the side and make some extra money. Roll around to fall of 2019 in our local area in Casper here, we have a Casper Startup Challenge, which is put on by the state university, University of Wyoming. And we threw in on that. I was told they had over 50 applicants, and long story short, we ended up getting first place in it and taking first place in that competition. And so that gave us a jump start. That gave us some funds to be able to use to buy some equipment we wouldn't have been able to afford before. And so that beginning of 2020, I started thinking about, well, maybe there is an opportunity to be able to do this full time. And so we got things set up, and then obviously everybody knows about March, COVID hit, and it got kind of crazy. And I had to take a step back and say, is this really what we want to do? And I said, I mean, it got to the point where I was like, I just don't want to be 85, 90 years old sitting in a nursing home regretting that I never tried this out. So I said, I need to step off and try this at least for a few years and see how it's going to go. So in June, I called my bosses and told them that I wouldn't be coming back as a teacher. And we stepped out and went for it. So like I said, so far, so good. Everything's been awesome. And right now we're booked out till next fall for trailer builds, and they just keep coming in.
Wow. Some questions come to mind. First and foremost is, how'd you get the name Symmetry Trailer? Where'd that come from?
So kind of a little bit about me. It's a little weird. I like math, and I've always been...
Weird is good, by the way. Weird is good, Adam.
I enjoy math, and I enjoy like just the concepts of math. I got a friend of mine that I told one time, he gives me a hard time about it. I'll pull up behind a vehicle, and just the license plate numbers, I'll try to make like equations out of. And so that's kind of how my mind works. And things being symmetrical to me makes sense. And I appreciate a builder or an artist who can create something like that. And so the name, I knew I wanted something like that. And the logo, if you look at our logo, it's a chevron design, which comes from the military. Our sergeant rank was always the chevrons. And so that's something I wanted to integrate there. But I also knew that I wanted something modern, and I wanted something that kind of talked about quality. And so if you can build something symmetrical and build it to where it's equal like that, that you have quality there, somebody who's paying attention. So yeah, that's where the name came from.
Very good. And I have to share, for our listeners, and back to you, Adam, one of the aspects I loved about your trailers is, and I always joke, I can see a straight line, but I couldn't draw one for the life of me. I mean, I'm an ex-photographer, wedding photography. It's how I paid my way through school many years ago. And I can see when something's off. I can just see it. And what I love about your trailers is that the lines are very clean. And they are, for our listeners, and hopefully Adam will share some pictures with us. We'll put those up on our show notes. But these are very nice looking trailers. And I have to admit, I knew the chevron right away. I actually had the opportunity. I was not in the military, but I have had a couple guests on the podcast. They were at 52nd, and I should know this. He's gonna get me if I don't say it. He was a Ranger, nonetheless.
Okay,
that was his last step. But he was in one of the in the big Corps, one of the major Army units. My God, he's going to get me. Adam, I'm going down this tangent. And the worst thing about the podcast, well, not the worst thing, is I'm not going to edit this out. So I'm going to eat my words right now, but I'll get that. No, but the clean lines is really what I loved it. And you have some fantastic colors for the trailers. And something else jumped out at me is we have a series on the podcast and we call it Side Hustle Saturday. And so very much what you just described, you're a full-time JOB, you were a teacher. And then when you had your time off, you kind of dabbled in, building a trailer here and there and seeing what would happen. And, so this episode in some ways could have been one of Side Hustle Saturday, but now this is your full-time profession is built, running Symmetry Trailers and building these. With the advent of COVID since last March, and I was reading on your website, and I know you have a brand ambassador, and we'll talk about that shortly about Macy, and you've got another young lady coming on. Are you still a one-man shop? Are you doing all the work, or do you have? I know you had your young daughter on one of the videos. She was your first brand ambassador, but is it still just you, or do you have some folks supporting you now?
A little bit, yeah. Our brand ambassadors are part of that. We've had an intern for the last, since probably June, I think. She's been helping out with our marketing and with Macy and where we're headed with that. And then I've got a friend of mine, I better mention Jason. He's helping me out in the shop.
You better.
He comes in and and does a lot of work in the shop. So I've got a little bit of help here and there. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, for all paperwork purposes, we're still kind of a one-man shop. So
okay. Now, prior to really embarking on this journey with these trailers, and I can imagine being up in Casper, Wyoming. It's beautiful country up there, and someday I hope to come up and pick up my trailer, but that's a whole other conversation. Had you done much overlanding work or enjoyment, get out with the family on overlanding type excursions?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, we've got a cabin in the Bighorns, a couple hours north of Casper. And I grew up elk hunting up there. And we spent our summers up there fishing on the reservoir, and we were camping all the time. In high school, we'd go out catfishing just a little bit outside of the town that I grew up in. We'd spend the night catfishing. And so it was always kind of in my blood. It just wasn't called overlanding yet. So that came later on. Yeah, I mean, it's vehicle camping with some cooler toys. And now it's grown into not only being able to do that with my family, with friends, but turned it into a full-time business.
With the trailers, and who are the folks coming to you or giving you a call, reaching out, saying, hey, I saw you guys. I want to learn more about your product. What trailer is the right one for me? What's that process that you're going through to help, put your ideal customer in their perfect trailer? What do you go through?
We do have like some different models. We have anywhere from like the smallest model, which is really, really light for smaller SUVs, some crossovers to be able to pull that don't have a large towing capacity. And then we go all the way up to one that's larger for being able to pull four-wheelers and still take your rooftop tent with you. And that would be geared towards the bigger pickups, things like that. So it kind of just depends on what the customer wants. I guess the one thing that really differentiates for us from other companies is we're very hands-on and custom. Every one of my customers that I've worked with so far, they've got my cell phone number. They're texting me even after hours. I try to make sure that customer service is number one and making sure that they're happy and they're getting what they wanted, because this is a large purchase. This isn't just a whim. Most of the time, it's something they thought about. And a lot of times it's taking your kids out, it's taking your family out and wanting to be able to get closer and spend time together away from electronics, away from TV, from Netflix, all that. And this is a great way to do that on a not quite the $200,000, $300,000 fifth wheel or large bus budget, and being able to still be able to do a lot of those things and getting away from campgrounds. I mean, getting away from where everybody else is camping at. You can go a lot of different places.
That's actually a point that I think is one of the big selling features of your trailers and the style is you don't have to go to the quote unquote campground because they tend to be overcrowded. Lots of different variations of the RVs there. But with a trailer, like a Symmetry trailer, I mean, you can go to some pretty, what's the word? There's just not a lot of people there. I mean, sparse population.
Remote.
There's not remote. That was the word. I was thinking desolate, but I realized that was not the right word, remote. But you can go to some really remote places with that trailer. I mean, you've got, decent sized wheels. They're definitely all-terrain wheels. And as long as you've got a vehicle that can, trailer that trailer, you can go to some pretty remote places and just kind of, like you say, get away from it all and just have a good time for a couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to build a trailer that's just as capable as the vehicle pulling it. And so wherever you can take that vehicle, you can take the trailer along with it. And so again, we customize it anywhere from smaller rims and tires that'll follow behind a Subaru on some light duty trails, all the way up to our bigger customers that have off-road machines that will go way back in backcountry. And we customize the wheels and tires to make them match to the vehicle. Yeah, whatever they need, we can probably make it happen.
All right. So you said the Subaru. So now you're talking my game, Subaru Crosstrek. All right.
Yep.
So where are the customers coming from? I mean, you were coming back from California yesterday when you and I chatted briefly. Are they coming to you to pick them up? Are you going to them? How's that working?
It's a little bit of both. And we try to, customize that for the customer. If they want us to bring it all the way out to them, we will. If they prefer to come pick it up, we can do it that way too. Just got back just like an hour ago from California. I had 2 customers in the San Francisco Bay Area that we delivered 2 trailers to. We spent some time out there. We got some really cool marketing shots of.
Nice. Very good. And who are the customers? Part of me would say, okay, and it's very sexist, these are a bunch of, big time male guys, hunters, fishermen, but I do realize that's not the case. And so what is your demographic? Who's calling you, coming to you saying, hey, I want one of your trailers?
It's a little bit all over the place. Most of the customers, I guess if we had to put them into a category, they're looking for a specific trailer, and what's out there doesn't fit their needs. And they want to customize it with certain pieces which fit their type of camping, their type of overlanding. And so that's probably what brings everybody together with it. That gives me a call. They have really specific things. Maybe they want a color. Maybe they, like I said, the wheels and tires need to match this specific vehicle. The trailer we just delivered to a customer out in California, he had a Ford Transit van. We matched the wheels and tires and the wheel pattern to that van. So now he's got 2 extra spares on the trailer to be able to, if he gets a flat on his van, he can be able to switch those out. You mentioned the big burly guys, and you're kind of getting into what is my soapbox and what I love so much is the fact that I feel like overlanding and Jeeps in general and kind of the off-road community has really been dominated by guys for a long time. And I've got 2 little girls of my own, and I hate to see that just because of their gender, they can't enjoy some of the things that I've enjoyed growing up and getting out there. So that's always been, even while I was teaching and now as a business owner, something that has been very near and dear to me to make sure that they're represented just as much, to be able to make that more of a 50-50 split. And I mean, you even look at, I think I looked at Overland Expo's numbers from last year, and it was 60% men and 40% women. But when you look at the brand ambassadors out there for a lot of companies, it's very much skewed toward the males. And so, last May, June, my marketing intern and I, we got together and we finally pulled the trigger on having our first brand ambassador. And one of the things that was going to happen that was specific to me was I wanted to find a female. We found Macy. She's our brand ambassador. She's from Connecticut. We had just started the discussion of how we were going to do this. We were talking about, we'll give this person a trailer, give them a year, and we worked together on the marketing side, creating YouTube videos, creating posts, and she would use the trailer. And then at the end of that year, she gets the trailer. And so we were going to do an entire application process. And not 2 or 3 days after my marketing intern and I had our meeting, I'm on Facebook and I see a young lady, and she's shooting a video, just a simple time-lapse video of her opening up her rooftop tent on top of her 4Runner. I was like, man, that's exactly who we're looking for right there. And so I shot her some questions. I messaged her, I said, hey, can I ask you some questions about overlanding and females in specific around overlanding? And she said, sure, absolutely. So I talked to her for a little bit, and finally I posed a question. I said, this is the reason I'm asking you. Would you be interested in being our brand ambassador? And she's like, absolutely. So we got together, and long story short, in July, she came out and picked up her trailer. We built one specific for her needs. I got with her and we worked together on what she needed. Again, we put the Toyota rims and tires to match her pickup, her Tacoma, and to be able to do the same thing, swap those out. She was looking for storage. She was looking for plugins for camera equipment and laptops. So we did all those things and put it together. And it's been awesome working with Macy the last about 6 months now. Looking forward to the next 6 months too.
Fantastic. And what are some of the ahas or the insights you're getting from your own conversations and having those with your customers, but also as the brand ambassador with Macy, what is she hearing in terms of people's perception of the trailer, what they can do with it, opening up these new possibilities? How is that? What are some of those ahas that you're hearing?
Little things here and there. Just depends on what they're looking for. We did so many things on Macy's trailer that we hadn't done before. And there are some things that worked out very well. And to be honest, there's some things that we're like, we need to go back to the drawing board and try that again. And we've done that. We've learned a lot. And that's probably the biggest thing, is just getting those out there and testing them and figuring out how we can do that better. We do have another brand ambassador coming up that we're working with right now. And I had a conversation with her, and she's told me some of the experiences. She's brand ambassadors for a few other companies too. We've talked about the problem with females not being brand ambassadors as much, and some of the things she's run into. And that just kind of went to substantiate what I had thought about that before, that, man, this is something we really need to be doing. So.
Okay. Now, are you hoping, in 2021, who knows where we're going to be? Are you mostly marketing online via the websites, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or are there some shows that you have plans to attend?
We're doing a little bit of each. Yeah. The biggest thing with the shows is, obviously with COVID and if they're getting shut down, we've already had one this year that we were supposed to attend in May that's been pushed back to September. And so we're crossing our fingers that gets to go through. But yeah, we're still planning on getting out there. We got to do one show last year right at the end of February before everything got shut down. And that was great to be able to get out and have people hands-on touching the trailers, giving us feedback. And it was a great experience. And so we're hoping to do more of that and even some bigger shows. Overland Expo is the big ones in the country. And we're going to be at both Overland West and Mountain West this year. And then, like you said, we're doing a lot of social media. We do Instagram and Facebook quite a bit, and we're getting better at YouTube. Not an expert by any means yet, but learning on the fly. And then just word of mouth. I've got one customer in Colorado that I just delivered a trailer to probably 4 or 5 months ago. And he's done so much on Instagram for me that another person contacted me because of him and said, hey, I like his trailer. I want one too. What do you got? And we ended up selling another trailer through that one.
That's fantastic. With your customers so far, what has been their reaction? I can imagine, but I still think our listeners would like to kind of hear it from you. When you're either delivering it or driving up to the shop and you kind of do the big unveiling, what's their reaction?
It's excitement. We haven't got to do a big unveil really too much, because a lot of my customers, again, like I said, we're contacting through text message constantly, and they're asking for pictures. And I'm continually sending them to them updates on what's going on with the trailer. But yeah, when we finally get it out to them, they're excited to be able to finally use it, excited that all the features that they've been asking for are on the trailer. And then, I try to live by the mantra of under promise and over deliver, and coming up with things that I can do specific for their trailers. Like both my customers out in California, they didn't know that I was cutting a fire pit for them. And another thing we've done with our trailers is we nickname each trailer. And so that way customers can come to me and say, hey, I saw the Hammerhead trailer. I really like that one. Can we do one like that? And so both of these trailers, they had specific nicknames. And so I cut logos into their fire pits based on those nicknames, and they didn't know those were coming. So it was kind of a nice surprise for them, something different that they didn't know that was going to happen.
That's fantastic. Now, how does your wife and your two little girls, how do they feel about the business and just this all of a sudden what daddy's doing, or what my husband, the entrepreneur, the fabricator, the designer, how do they feel?
It's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride. It wasn't too bad until after I quit my job. And then I'm that type of person that's just going to go head first into something and make sure this thing's going to work. And so it's been a lot of work and a lot of changes as far as schedules go. And so they've been very supportive of that. And I appreciate it, my family and friends. And the fact that I have had to work some late nights, I've had to work some weekends, and them working around that and helping me out with it. I really appreciate it. I'm still figuring things out, and it's going to be a while before I really get like a good schedule. And now we're getting to the point where we're right on the cusp of probably trying to hire pretty soon to bring on some employees. So that's a whole nother ball game and learning that. So, but it's been fun, and I'm still excited, still loving every minute of it. Just looking forward to what's coming up.
Very good. Now, you perhaps have alluded to the answer, through this conversation today, but when you look back, while you were teaching, kids how to, do the welding and the fabrication design to now, today, is there something that, wow, I can't believe this is happening, or I wish I knew then that I know now? Any type of insights that you could share about this journey you've been on?
I would say just go for it. A lot of times you second guess yourself and you're scared to death of jumping off that cliff. I mean, there are some things you need to get set in place. Don't just quit your job. But when it comes to that time to where you're really thinking that it's kind of on the borderline of should I go, should I stay? But your heart is set on like going and trying that, I would say go for it then. Once you put that groundwork in and lay the foundation for it, that's probably the time to go ahead and try it out. Because again, like I said, my fear was 50, 60 years looking back going, man, I had that one opportunity and I blew it. I left it on the table and I didn't want to have that happen.
Very good. Very good. So Adam, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, where are the best places for them to go?
Probably start off is our website, symtrailers.com, symtrailers.com. And that's got most of the information on there. You can contact us through email, symtrailers@gmail.com. My number's on there and I'm pretty wide open. Like I said, it's a little bit different. You guys can text me. My cell phone number is on the website. So shoot me a text if you're interested in a trailer. And then again, we're very active on Instagram and Facebook. And so check those out. A lot of our builds are on there. And if you follow us on Instagram, you're going to see the builds as soon as they come out. You'll see them even as they're being built. And then I also want to give a plug for Macy. Her Instagram handle is @so.in.tense. So intense on Instagram.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely, provide the backlinks to the Sim Trailers website, as well as to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and also to Macy's Instagram account as well. Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you today on Success Insight Podcast. Really, folks, wonderful trailers, and you're going to love, what Adam is creating. So when you see those on the show notes on our webpage. So Adam, thank you again. We wish you much luck. And I do hope you and I get to chat further, because I think my little red Subaru Crosstrek, I did see a nice red trailer on the Instagram page, and I definitely think Subaru needs a trailer. So we'll have a conversation about that. But again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I'm sure you're tired from that trip back from California, so we'll let you hopefully relax a little bit before you got to get back to work and do some more fabrication.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time today, and thanks for letting me come on.
Fantastic. All right, folks, we have just been chatting with Adam Pauli. He is the owner of Symmetry Trailers, and Symmetry Trailers, this is all about quality overland trailers, expedition trailers, backcountry utility trailers. And really, Adam has taken his passion of working with his hands, creating, the welding, fabrication, designing, and really he is creating some wonderful works of art, and really is a lot to be proud of. And in fact, I think we should all be grateful that Adam is doing what he's doing, because with COVID-19, we need to find a way to get out of the house, our apartments, homes, and get out there and be around nature. And with a Symmetry trailer behind your vehicle, what a wonderful way to get out and get some fresh air and to do something healthy for yourself and for your family. So folks, again, go visit symtrailers.com, and we'll provide the backlinks to the Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages, as well as to our Macy, his brand ambassador, her Instagram page. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let us know in the comments section on successinsightpodcast.com. We're also on Facebook and on LinkedIn, Success Insight Podcast pages. Also, the podcast platforms, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, as well as on YouTube. You can find us there by searching for Success Insight Podcast. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day, stay safe, practice social distancing, wear your mask, and take care of yourselves. And ask yourself this: who am I grateful for? So go out there and tell somebody why you're grateful for them, okay? And we'll see you on the next episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.